Emotionally detaching from someone might seem impossible, but what if you could do it without pain or resentment? Stoicism and ancient philosophy offer a clear and practical path to achieving this inner freedom. Forget the need for physical distance or drastic breakups. With just 5 Stoic principles, you can transform your pain into strength, regain control of your emotions, and find the peace you've been searching for, all in a quick and effective way. Ready to learn how? Let's get straight to the point. Please help us share this message of hope and encouragement with others who might be at their own crossroads, unsure of what the future holds. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Topic 1. The power of detachment. Detachment is a powerful key to emotional freedom. Imagine your life as a kite. When tied to a string, it's controlled by the wind, drifting without clear direction. Often we attach ourselves to people, situations, or even ideas, allowing them to guide our emotions like the wind guides the kite. Stoicism, an ancient philosophy, teaches that true power lies in learning to detach, to release that string which binds us and leaves us at the mercy of external influences. But beware, detachment is not about becoming cold or insensitive. On the contrary, it's a process of discernment, knowing how to differentiate between what is within our control and what is not. This allows us to live with more lightness and serenity, a core value for the Stoics. The modern Stoic understands that excessive attachment is a direct path to unhappiness. When we cling to something, we place our well-being in the hands of factors often beyond our control. For example, we may attach ourselves to a promotion at work, believing it defines our worth. However, if we don't get the promotion, we spiral into sadness and frustration. Here lies a key lesson of Stoicism. The promotion itself is outside our control, but how we react to it is not. By practicing detachment, we gain the ability to redirect our energy toward what we can truly control, such as our personal growth and daily discipline. Identifying what binds us is the first step toward detachment. The Stoics teach us that we must recognize our attachments and examine their roots. Sometimes we are so accustomed to certain patterns of thought and behavior that we don't even realize how deeply attached we are to them. Consider a time when you clung to a toxic relationship, believing you needed that person to be happy. This is common and human, but the Stoic knows that this happiness is illusory. True happiness and inner peace come from within, not from external circumstances. A practical exercise you can try is to list on a piece of paper the things or people you are attached to and reflect on how these dependencies impact your life. Detachment is not a one-time act, but a constant practice on our personal development journey. Becoming a better person means learning to let go, to release what no longer serves us. This could be a job that no longer brings satisfaction, a relationship that has stagnated, or even habits that prevent us from growing. Every day, upon waking, the modern Stoic can practice detachment by reflecting on what is essential and what can be left behind. This not only eases the mind, but also opens up space for new opportunities and experiences that truly add value to life. Often, attachment gives us a false sense of security. We imagine that by holding tightly to something, we are guaranteeing our happiness or success. However, Stoicism teaches that this security is an illusion. A simple example: think of how we cling to material goods, believing they will bring us status or recognition. But when we lose these goods, we realize that our true essence was never there. To practice detachment, start with small daily actions, such as donating something you no longer use or disconnecting from social networks that bring more anxiety than joy. The Stoic understands that detachment is a tool for freedom, not indifference. By detaching, we are not distancing ourselves from people or things, but rather getting closer to our essence, who we truly are. This allows us to love and connect with others more genuinely, without the chains of fear or the need for control. When we practice detachment, we cultivate a healthier and more balanced mindset, focused on the present and on the things that truly matter, such as our character, wisdom, and the way we treat others. By detaching, we begin to understand the ego and its illusions. It is at this point that we realize how much detachment frees us from the traps of the ego, paving the way for a fuller and more genuine life. Detachment is not just about letting go, it's about opening the doors to a new understanding of yourself and the world around you. Topic 2. Understanding attachment. Understanding attachment is fundamental for anyone seeking to delve deeper into Stoic philosophy and personal development. From an early age, we are shaped by pure and unconditional love, but as we grow, the ego begins to take control, bringing with it attachments that distance us from our true essence. Attachment is often a construction of the ego, a way to protect ourselves from the uncertainties of life, but it ends up imprisoning us in a cycle of need and dependency. The Stoics teach us that living from love instead of ego is a conscious choice that leads to inner peace and true emotional freedom. When we live dominated by the ego, we fall into the trap of believing that our worth is tied to the things or people we are attached to, whether it's a romantic relationship, a job, or even social approval. We convince ourselves that these things define who we are. However, Stoicism challenges us to reverse this perspective. Instead of seeking external validation, we are invited to find our intrinsic value. Recognizing that we are complete within ourselves, regardless of external circumstances, is a crucial step toward detachment and emotional liberation. This shift in perspective, living by love instead of ego, may seem difficult at first, but it is essential for anyone seeking to become a better person. The Stoics remind us that true love is abundant and does not rely on possession or control. For example, in a relationship, we often cling out of fear of losing the loved one, believing that our happiness depends on that union. However, by learning to detach, we realize that true love does not impose conditions or demands. It simply is. This understanding allows us to love in a healthier, more balanced way. Without the chains of fear or insecurity, Stoic philosophy encourages us to question our motivations and distinguish between what is born of love and what is a creation of the ego. Ask yourself, are you attached to something because you truly love it, or because you fear losing it? This reflection is powerful and can transform how you view the world and your relationships. By engaging in this exercise, you begin to identify attachments that may be rooted in insecurity or a distorted view of yourself. Detachment in this context becomes a practice of liberation, an act of self-love that brings us closer to our true essence. The Stoics believed that living from love means living in alignment with nature, accepting what life offers without resistance. This doesn't mean passivity, but rather a deep trust that what is meant for us will come to us. Life becomes lighter when we stop fighting against the natural flow of things and accept that our worth does not depend on what we possess or who approves of us. Living this way allows us to experience life more fully and with less anxiety, cultivating an inner peace that remains unshaken by external circumstances. This journey of detachment begins with self-acceptance and self-knowledge. The Stoics teach us that true emotional freedom comes when we accept who we are, imperfections and all. When we no longer need external validation to feel complete, we free ourselves from the chains of the ego. This process can be initiated with simple practices like meditation or reflective writing, where we explore our deepest feelings and beliefs. By understanding what truly motivates our attachments, we move toward a freer and fuller life. As we deepen our understanding of attachment, we begin to unmask the illusions created by the ego. In doing so, we create space to see the world and ourselves more clearly and truthfully, preparing us to confront these illusions and take the next step in our journey of personal and emotional growth. Topic 3. The illusion of the ego. The illusion of the ego is a subtle yet powerful trap that makes us believe we need external validation to be happy or complete. The ego leads us to idolize others, placing those we admire on pedestals, while forgetting that deep down we are all equally human and vulnerable. The Stoics teach that this constant quest for approval is a form of emotional slavery. By confronting this illusion, we realize that true strength comes from within, specifically from our ability to be self-sufficient and to value what truly matters, our character and wisdom. When we live under the illusion of the ego, it's easy to fall into the trap of comparison. The ego convinces us that we need to be better, richer, or more successful than others to have value. However, Stoics like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius remind us that the true measure of success is not in possessions or status, but in how we live our lives and treat others. Stoic philosophy invites us to abandon destructive comparisons and focus instead on personal development, cultivating the discipline and resilience that make us truly strong. A practical example of this illusion is the envy that arises when we see someone else's success, especially on social media. The ego makes us believe we are falling behind, that we should have what others have. However, Stoicism teaches us to look inward, to seek satisfaction in our own achievements, and to appreciate what we have already accomplished. By recognizing that everyone has their own path and timing, we can free ourselves from this prison of comparison and focus on becoming the best version of ourselves without the need to compete or compare. The practice of detachment from the ego begins with accepting our shared humanity. We all, at some point, have felt inadequate or insecure, and this is what makes us human. The Stoics believed in the fundamental equality of all people, regardless of social status or wealth. By internalizing this idea, we can begin to detach from the need to be seen in a particular way by others, which allows us to live more authentically and fully. To detach from the ego, it's important to cultivate self-esteem based on who we truly are, not on what we possess or what others think of us. This can be achieved through practices like Stoic meditation, where we reflect on our nature and core values. A practical example of detachment is dedicating a few minutes at the end of the day to reflect on our actions, asking ourselves whether they were aligned with our values or influenced by a desire to please others. This habit helps us build a solid foundation of self-confidence that doesn't rely on external validation. From this new perspective, we begin to see the ego for what it truly is, a mental construct designed more to shield us from insecurities than to foster growth. By recognizing this, we free ourselves to love without fear, live without the shackles of others' opinions, and embrace our own journey with greater serenity. The Stoics remind us that true freedom comes from within, and that detachment from the ego is essential in this process. Understanding the illusion of the ego is key to practicing detachment healthily. As we uncover these illusions, we prepare ourselves to apply detachment practically in our lives, freeing ourselves from experiences and relationships that no longer serve us. Topic 4. Practical detachment. Practical detachment is one of the most transformative lessons Stoicism offers. It is not enough to simply understand the concept. It must be applied in daily life to let go of what binds us and move forward. Often, we hold on to past experiences and relationships out of fear of the unknown. This fear, fueled by the ego, convinces us that we need certain things or people to be happy. However, the Stoics remind us that by detaching, we create space for new opportunities, growth, and true happiness. A practical example of detachment is deciding to leave behind a job that no longer brings satisfaction. We often remain in comfortable yet stagnant situations due to fear of what might happen if we choose to leave. However, Stoicism teaches us that comfort and security should not be our primary guides. By detaching from a job that no longer challenges us or supports our growth, we allow new doors to open, leading us toward a fuller life aligned with our values. The fear of losing something or someone also traps us in unrealistic comparisons, especially in the age of social media. We live in a society that constantly exposes us to the perceived success and happiness of others, creating pressure to meet standards that often do not reflect reality. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what is within our control, rather than comparing ourselves to others. By practicing detachment, we free ourselves from these external influences and learn to define happiness on our own terms, based on what truly matters to us. Detachment also involves learning to let go of relationships that have served their purpose in our lives. Sometimes we cling to connections that no longer bring joy or growth out of fear of being alone or hurting the other person. However, the Stoics believe it is better to be at peace with oneself than to remain in situations that corrode us from within. A practical example of detachment would be reflecting on your relationships and identifying which ones still serve a meaningful purpose in your life. If something or someone no longer contributes to your well-being, it may be time to detach with gratitude for what was, while having the courage to move forward. To practice detachment effectively, it is important to focus on the present and what is within our control. A useful exercise is daily meditation, where you concentrate on your breathing and the present moment, letting go of worries about the past and anxieties about the future. By doing this, we learn to live more fully, free from the shackles of attachment to things we can no longer change or predict. Stoicism teaches us that true freedom comes from within, from a calm mind focused on the now. Another aspect of practical detachment is learning to let go of the expectations we create about ourselves and others. Often we cling to ideas of how things should be, leading to frustration and disappointment when reality doesn't match our expectations. Stoicism encourages us to accept things as they are, rather than fighting against them. This does not mean resignation, but rather a serene acceptance of life as it is. By letting go of these expectations, we open up space for acceptance and for living more authentically and happily. By applying detachment in our daily lives, we begin to move toward true happiness, which does not depend on external circumstances, but on our ability to find peace and contentment within ourselves. This path of detachment naturally leads us to the understanding that happiness is something we build from the inside out, a journey we will continue to explore in the next topic. Topic 5. The path to happiness. The path to happiness, according to Stoicism, is not found in the things we possess or the people around us, but in something much deeper and more enduring: our character, wisdom, and how we treat others. Often we are led to believe that happiness lies in achieving something we have not yet attained, such as a new accomplishment, an ideal relationship, or social approval. However, the Stoics show us that this incessant quest is a form of slavery. True happiness is cultivated internally from a life lived with virtue and purpose. When we think that happiness depends on another person, we imprison ourselves in others' expectations and whims. How many times have we heard stories of people who believed they would only be happy when they were in a relationship or when they received recognition for their work? And how many of those same people have discovered over time that the happiness they sought did not come from these external achievements. Stoicism teaches us that detachment is the key to liberation. By detaching from the idea that we need something external to be happy, we open up space to find happiness in our own growth and personal development. Being a better person, according to the Stoics, means getting closer to our true essence, the one that does not depend on external validation. Circumstances to find peace and contentment. When we begin to focus on our own growth, developing our virtues and living with integrity, we discover that happiness becomes a natural consequence of this process. A practical example is investing time in activities that promote our personal development, such as reading classic philosophy, practicing meditation, or even volunteering. These activities nourish our being and cultivate happiness that is independent of external influences. This journey of self-confidence and personal growth allows us to fly freely like a kite released into the sky, moving with grace and lightness. It's not that we distance ourselves from people with indifference. Rather, we learn to love and relate in a healthier way, free from the chains of emotional dependence. The modern Stoic understands that by practicing detachment, he is not renouncing people or things, but is instead getting closer to his true nature, the one capable of finding joy and peace in any situation. One of the great benefits of this path is the clarity it brings to our lives. When we stop seeking happiness in the wrong places, we begin to see more clearly what truly matters. We become less susceptible to external influences, such as others' opinions or social pressures, and more aligned with our values and purpose. This alignment gives us a sense of freedom that is difficult to describe, but is deeply transformative. Happiness then ceases to be a distant goal and becomes a daily experience, something we cultivate and enjoy in every moment. By focusing on our own growth and development, we start to understand that a fulfilling life is not something that happens by chance, but rather something we build brick by brick, decision by decision. This fulfilling life is what the Stoics called eudaimonia, a kind of deep and lasting happiness that arises from living in harmony with our nature and the principles of virtue. When we reach this state, we discover that true happiness is not a quest, but a journey we are already on. By continuing on this journey of detachment and self-knowledge, we draw closer to a happiness that does not depend on external circumstances, but flourishes from within. This journey, in turn, prepares us to embrace self-acceptance as an essential component of emotional freedom and true happiness, which we will explore in the next topic. Topic 6. The importance of self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is the foundation upon which we build an emotionally healthy and balanced life. However, we often find ourselves trapped in the pursuit of external validation, believing that our worth is conditional on others' approval. This common mistake can lead us into a vicious cycle of insecurity and dependency. The Stoics, masters at understanding human nature, teach us that true emotional freedom can only be achieved when we fully accept ourselves, imperfections and all. By accepting ourselves, we not only free ourselves from the shackles of others' opinions, but also create an internal sense of stability and confidence. Space of peace and self-confidence. When we talk about self-acceptance, we are not suggesting that we should conform or stagnate. On the contrary, it is only from full acceptance of who we are that we can begin the process of growth and personal transformation. Imagine someone who is constantly dissatisfied with themselves, trying to fill their gaps through others' approval. This constant effort is exhausting and ultimately unsatisfying. Stoicism offers us an alternative. By accepting our limitations and embracing our humanity, we find the solid foundation upon which we can build a fuller and more meaningful life. The pursuit of self-acceptance can be challenging in a society that values external appearance and material success so highly. However, the Stoics encourage us to look beyond superficialities and focus on what truly matters, our character and our actions. A practical example of this is journaling or reflective writing, where one can explore thoughts and feelings honestly and without judgment. This habit can be a powerful ally on the journey of self-acceptance, allowing you to connect with your true essence and recognize the value you already possess, regardless of external circumstances. The emotional freedom that comes from self-acceptance is something many seek, but few achieve. This is because it requires a degree of vulnerability and honesty with oneself that we are not always willing to face. However, the Stoics teach us that this is a necessary step to live a truly fulfilling life. When we recognize that we are enough by ourselves, we free ourselves from the expectations imposed by others and, more importantly, from the unrealistic expectations we often place on ourselves. This liberation gives us the strength to face life's challenges with more courage and resilience. Furthermore, self-acceptance allows us to cultivate healthier and more authentic relationships. When we are no longer tied to the need to please or impress others, we become more capable of genuinely connecting with the people around us. This authenticity is something the Stoics deeply valued, for they knew that only when we are true to ourselves can we be true to others. Instead of seeking relationships based on approval or status, we can build connections based on mutual respect and understanding. Therefore, the daily practice of self-acceptance is one of the pillars of personal development and modern Stoicism. Small gestures of self-compassion, such as forgiving oneself for a mistake or allowing oneself a moment of rest, are important steps on this journey. By recognizing and accepting our flaws, not as something to be lamented, but as integral, we begin to free ourselves from the chains of perfectionism and self-criticism. This process leads us to an inner peace that is unshakable by external criticism or momentary failures. As we deepen our self-acceptance, we begin to understand the importance of cultivating inner peace. This peace, the result of a balanced mind and a calm heart, is the foundation for facing life's challenges with serenity and strength. Topic 7. Cultivating inner peace. Cultivating inner peace is like planting a garden in fertile soil. It requires time, patience, and the constant nurturing of healthy habits that nourish the mind and spirit. However, the effort is worth it, as this inner peace becomes a powerful shield against the emotional storms that life inevitably brings. The Stoics, with their millennia of wisdom, teach us that inner peace is the result of deep self-knowledge and the daily practice of habits that promote mental and emotional well-being. Meditation, reflection, and forgiveness are some of the tools we can use to maintain this state of balance. Meditation, for example, is a practice the Stoics incorporated into their daily routines. It is not necessarily about sitting in absolute silence, but rather taking time to reflect on life, our actions, and what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest representatives of Stoicism, practiced daily introspection by writing in his diary and reflecting on his thoughts and behaviors. Today we can adopt similar practices, whether through guided meditation, reflective writing, or simply taking a moment of silence at the end of the day. This habit helps us maintain focus on what truly matters, keeping distractions and worries that threaten our peace at bay. Another fundamental practice for cultivating inner peace is forgiveness, both of ourselves and others. Often we carry grudges or regrets that weigh on our hearts like stones, preventing us from moving forward. The Stoics teach us that by forgiving, we are not only freeing the other person, but primarily ourselves. Forgiveness is an act of detachment, letting go of what causes us pain and embracing emotional freedom. When we forgive, we create space in our minds and hearts for inner peace to flourish, allowing us to live more lightly and serenely. Self-knowledge and inner peace. Self-knowledge also plays a crucial role in maintaining this peace. When we truly know ourselves, our values, limits, and motivations, we become less susceptible to external influences. The practice of self-knowledge can include anything from reading philosophical texts that prompt reflection to simply observing our thoughts and reactions throughout the day. By becoming more aware of who we are, we grow stronger in the face of challenges because we understand our roots and what truly sustains us. Maintaining inner peace in a world full of distractions and external pressures may seem daunting, but the Stoics show us that it is possible. By cultivating a state of emotional balance, we become less vulnerable to the tides of emotions that can destabilize us. This does not mean we will avoid challenges, but rather that we will be better prepared to face them with calmness and clarity. A practical example of this is developing a morning routine that includes activities that calm the mind, such as reading, meditation, or even a peaceful walk. These moments of serenity at the start of the day can significantly impact how we handle the rest of it. Once cultivated, inner peace also helps us cope with losses and disappointments. When our minds are at peace, we are less easily shaken by adversity. The Stoics believe that by accepting things as they are and focusing on what is within our control, we can maintain an attitude of equanimity even in difficult times. This serenity, the fruit of inner peace, allows us to face life's ups and downs with more grace and resilience, without getting lost in the emotions of the moment. As we continue to cultivate this inner peace, we prepare ourselves to develop even greater resilience, a strength that allows us to face life's adversities without being overwhelmed by emotions. Topic 8. Detachment and resilience. Detachment is a powerful tool in building resilience, which is our ability to resist and adapt in the face of life's adversities. In Stoicism, learning to detach from what is beyond our control is a fundamental lesson that prepares us to face challenges with a calm mind and a steady heart. When we practice detachment, we recognize that we cannot control everything around us. Instead, we have full mastery over our responses to the situations we face. This Stoic mindset allows us to deal with losses, failures, and changes without being consumed by negative emotions. A classic example illustrating the power of detachment in building resilience is the story of Epictetus, one of the great masters of Stoicism who lived much of his life as a slave. Despite his difficult circumstances, he found freedom in his mind and developed incredible resilience by accepting what he could not change and focusing on what was under his control, his attitudes and thoughts. Epictetus teaches us that by practicing detachment, we are not becoming insensitive. Rather, we are strengthening our ability to face the world with equanimity, without being overwhelmed by setbacks. This resilience, built through detachment, empowers us to grow from challenges instead of viewing obstacles as insurmountable barriers. The Stoics encourage us to see these challenges as opportunities for personal development. For example, when losing a job, we can either despair or see it as a chance to explore new opportunities, learn new skills, or even redirect our career towards something more aligned with our values. Detachment allows us to look at these situations with a new perspective, finding strength where there was once fear. In everyday life, this mindset can be applied in simple but powerful ways. Think about how we react when something small doesn't go as planned, like a traffic delay or a misunderstanding with a coworker. Though these situations may seem trivial, they can generate unnecessary stress and frustration. By practicing detachment, we recognize that these inconveniences are beyond our control. Instead of getting upset, we choose to stay calm and continue with our day. This small act of detachment is, in fact, a daily practice of resilience that prepares us to face bigger challenges with greater serenity. Stoicism reminds us that life is full of ups and downs, and trying to control everything around us is a futile and exhausting effort. True strength comes from within, from the ability to accept what life presents us and respond with wisdom and tranquility. An example of this practice is the technique of visualizing the worst possible scenarios, known as premeditatio malorum. By imagining what could go wrong, we mentally prepare for these situations while simultaneously detaching from the fear that they might actually occur. This mental preparation grants us inner peace, thereby strengthening our resilience in the face of real difficulties. By embracing detachment as a constant practice, we begin to build resilience that allows us to keep moving forward, even in the most challenging circumstances. We are no longer slaves to our circumstances, but masters of our reactions. This shift gives us a sense of freedom and power that is invaluable. Stoicism teaches us that a full and happy life is not one devoid of challenges, but rather one where we can face them with courage and serenity, always ready to grow and evolve. This resilience, the fruit of detachment, prepares us to live fully in the present without being attached to what has passed or what is yet to come. Topic 9. The wisdom of living in the here and now. Living in the present is one of the greatest challenges of modern life, where our minds are often caught between regret for the past and anxiety about the future. However, Stoicism teaches us that the only time we truly possess is the present. This wisdom of living in the here and now is essential for practicing detachment and achieving a fulfilling life. When we focus on the present moment, we free ourselves from the worries that bind us to what has already passed or what is yet to come. Our minds then calm, allowing us to experience life more deeply and meaningfully. The Stoics believe that true freedom comes from the ability to live in the present. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most prominent Stoic philosophers, wrote in his Meditations about the importance of not letting oneself be consumed by past events or future expectations. He reminded us that by focusing on the now, we are in direct contact with reality, with what is tangible and true. A practical example of this philosophy is the practice of mindfulness, where one dedicates time to be completely present in an activity, whether it be a quiet walk or a simple meal. This act of being fully in the moment helps us cultivate inner peace and detach from unnecessary mental distractions. When we are focused on the present, we also become more aware of our choices and actions. This awareness empowers us to act more intentionally and align our actions with our values, something the Stoics deeply valued. Instead of reacting impulsively to external stimuli, we begin to respond thoughtfully, with clarity and purpose. This level of awareness is only possible when we let go of worries about what we cannot control, the past that is gone and the future that has not yet arrived. Focusing on what we can do now is essential for living fully in the present. Detachment from the past is particularly important, as we often carry regrets and grievances that prevent us from enjoying the current moment. The Stoics teach us that while we cannot change the past, we can change our perception and attitude toward it. A practical exercise is to re-evaluate past situations that still affect us and ask ourselves, what can I learn from this, and how can I let it go? By doing this, we begin to release the weight that binds us to the past, allowing us to live more lightly and freely. Similarly, detachment from the future helps us to live with less anxiety. While it is natural to want to plan and prepare for what is to come, excessive concern over the future robs us of peace of mind. Stoicism teaches us to accept that the future is uncertain and that the control we think we have over it is often an illusion. By focusing on the present, we trust that we are doing the best we can with what we have now, which gives us the serenity to face whatever the future brings. This wisdom of living in the present also allows us to connect more deeply with the people and experiences around us. When we are present, we can appreciate the small moments of joy and beauty that often go unnoticed. A conversation with a friend, the taste of a good meal, the sound of rain. These moments gain new meaning when we are truly present to experience them. This type of presence enables us to live more richly and gratifyingly, without the constant need to seek something outside of ourselves. By practicing detachment and living in the present, we begin to realize that happiness is not something distant, always ahead of us or behind us, but something we can experience here and now. This realization leads us to understand that detachment from the small things in everyday life is equally important for a fulfilling life. In the next topic, we will explore how making conscious choices impacts our overall well-being. Remember, the path to emotional freedom begins with a simple step. Why not start today? If you want to continue learning and strengthening your mind to face any challenge, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, you will always find the tools and inspiration you need to live according to Stoic principles and achieve a more fulfilling and meaningful life.